Indicators of a reflective practitioner. There are some key teaching and learning practices which contribute to what we do as reflective practitioners. And what we can do is identify particular attributes which will indicate when a teacher is being a reflective practitioner. Key attribute really is intellectual quality. The reflective practitioner is somebody who is engaged in higher order thinking rather than common sense thinking. This is very critical thinking. In terms of intellectual quality, the reflective practitioner is somebody who has a deep knowledge and a deep understanding of the subject they're teaching, and also the pedagogy of the subject that they're teaching. And the intellectual quality of the reflective practitioner is exhibited through the way they communicate with other professionals, or in other words, how they talk about teaching, how they talk about language, or in other words, the meta language that they use to talk about the profession. These particular attributes we can identify through some very simple questions that we can ask ourselves. And these are questions that we can reflect on as we're writing, for example, in a professional development journal. A very good question is, how do I use students' prior experiences to support their current learning? This is a meta-language approach to teaching in the classroom. Other questions, how do I encourage my students to be agents of their own learning, or in other words, more autonomous? And how do I move students towards higher order thinking? These are questions which indicate that the reflective practitioner has a particular intellectual quality which they're bringing to the role. Another indicator of an effective reflective practitioner is that the classroom environment is supportive of teaching and learning. For example, there is very clear student direction in terms of activities and learning which is taking place. There is social support for students within the entire room. Also, the classroom environment is very active rather than passive, and therefore students engage much more with the teaching and learning which is taking place. And what is key to identify here, where you have effective reflective practice, is that the students are to a very great degree self-regulated, or in other words, learning happens almost without direction from the teacher. These can be operationalized through, again, a number of simple questions that we can consider when we're writing in a professional development journal. How do I provide student-responsive lessons and engage students who have diverse interests? This is where the reflective practitioner is thinking very critically in terms of higher order cognition of what they're doing. How do I collaboratively plan aspects of the curriculum? This is another key aspect of an effective reflective practitioner. How do I motivate learning? This is not just about teaching, it's actually thinking about how to engage students more. Another indicator of reflective practice is how the individual teacher is engaging with difference, whether it's social status or whether it's gender or group identity. This actually means that the teacher is operationalizing differentiated learning in the classroom. And again, in terms of reflection, there are particular questions that we can ask. How do I acknowledge, respect, and value students' diverse learning needs? Is a very good question to ask ourselves. How do I promote student voice? Is about student empowerment and student autonomy. How do I acknowledge different ways that students learn? If you can reflect in this way, you are showing higher order skills. And perhaps importantly is connectedness, or in other words, how the teacher brings together knowledge and practice, background understanding of students and of the school and of the families and of their own role as a teacher into a cohesive and complete approach to teaching.